We're back in Friday.
Camera's rolling.
How was your Christmas?
Missy's got two, and one is 3.5, and one that's 5 months, both boys. And that's
Ashley's got two. She's got a 4-year-old and
I had it set that I could have shown the meeting in case.
She's sick.
Holly sick?
Yeah.
So don't print out any copies, I don't know what's on it.
How you doing, Kurt? I'm doing good. Thank you.
Jim just said.
Camera's rolling. Camera's rolling. 6:02.
I'll call the meeting to order. Could you join me in saluting the flag, please? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
I guess you can record.
Welcome to our meeting. The next thing on the agenda is the review of the minutes of December 14th.
We can get Monty to electronically until today, and I made you a hot copy, but if you haven't had time to read them, we can table them.
I really don't have any issues.
Pretty straightforward.
Just give me a second.
Just didn't take a minute.
Yeah.
Jessica's resigned.
I don't remember that.
What's that?
About removing the selectmen from the show, I don't remember that. I don't remember that being discussed at all.
Who's that?
I think you might have just mentioned it.
Under 4.
I don't remember the comment either.
I don't think.
I did,
You did?
yeah,
All right.
yeah. As I recall, it did.
I thought I remembered it too. Is his
Mhm.
name spelled correctly?
Huh?
Is his name spelled
I think so.
Yeah.
correctly?
I'll move to approve.
Second?
Those in favor? Thank you. Next thing is a senior citizen tax assistance appeal.
Mr. Chairman, Doris Poole was denied, and because of the definition I applied, which is in the ordinance, which is adopted, the definition of homestead, which is a requirement, which it reads, homestead is a dwelling owned or rented by a person seeking assistance under this ordinance or held in a revocable living trust for the benefit of that person. The dwelling must be occupied by that person's dependents as a home. My understanding is Doris's relatives own the property and that she has a living, I think it's a life tenancy agreement, which I've copied from the board, but which I consider to meet that standard of, it says revocable living trust. But I guess you could interpret it
It says,
differently.
whereas a lessee is the owner. Are we talking about 559 Main Street?
Yes.
The
This is
lessee,
Doris is in here.
it says here, whereas a lessee is the owner.
I am for a lifetime. I mean, nothing to resemble the property
It's con-
while I live.
subject to reserving life tenancy for sub.
There's three ways to do it: ownership, revocable trust,
A lifetime.
rent.
And this is okay, is this acceptable?
This ordinance passed the town meeting. So the lawyers-
Unless they shall not be required to pay any expenses associated with the ownership of the home, but that means you don't pay any taxes on that.
I pay everything on that house.
She's not legally required by the tenancy agreement to do it, but do it, right?
I have paid my tax, I pay all the expenses on that house. There's no difference than when it was just in my name. I've paid taxes in Monmouth since 1947, never skipping a year. Of course, it was with my Andy until 2002. But my name has been on the tax books for 64 years.
It's you know, I guess it's more common to put them in a revocable trust rather than a life tenancy, but I'm not a lawyer. I asked the attorney in the town, he said that the board could interpret it if they wanted to. I chose not to, but he said you could interpret it that paying, giving the property to the relatives is a form of rent. I didn't choose to do it that way because my opinion was black and white,
Let me see
either
the,
in or out.
let me see the
Oh,
ordinance.
yeah, the ordinance.
This is what the people of the town passed.
Yes. It's under definitions.
Considering in so many aspects, Doris meets the criteria.
Has she received a refund under the provisions of chapter from the state?
Yes, I
Yeah.
do.
Yeah.
Yeah, she meets it all.
Except for that one.
Yep, she's certainly qualified. Yeah, so the only question was the ordinance requires, you know,
My
Homestead.
lawyer chose to write it up that way. or something.
so the question is, do you consider the
And so what were we talking about?
life tenancy or
$150?
paying the taxes to be rent or something like that?
What are we talking here on the assistance?
Oh, probably $129 or something like that.
I didn't know.
It's 15%, it's 15%.
Oh, yeah, that's what I
of
thought. That's what I
So
thought.
you got, you know, it's 15% of whatever the state gave. It's not a lot of money,
About
but it's,
$80.
what?
About $80.
No, it's a little more than that.
Yeah, that'd be about, yeah.
15%.
15% of 781, I think. So it's, I mean, it's not a lot of money, we're not, it's not a lot of money, but it helps,
Right.
and that's the idea.
Yeah.
I'm just reading the ordinance literally.
Go ahead, Harold. See what you think.
You can find it for Doris.
Well, I think the intent was to be able to
She's
try to
paying
help
the taxes.
folks in her situation.
Yeah, obviously, the intent is to help the taxpayer. Technically, legally, she's not required to pay the taxes, and that's why the ordinance is probably written that way. So otherwise, say your mother from Florida could move up and live with you and collect this money even though she's not paying anything and we won't pay anything, and that wouldn't be fair to the taxpayers. But, I mean, in her case, I suppose you could interpret that she's paying the taxes. She did give the property to her children.
Well, she, and this, believe it or not,
I'm
it's
trying to make it
fairly common. My grandparents did the same thing. They basically sold their property to my parents for $1 and with a lifetime lease to live in the building as long, you know, occupy the property as long as they were alive, which is the same thing as a living, you know, an irrevocable trust. It just was not worded that way.
Mine wasn't just a.
And yours is basically the same thing.
Right, lifetime land.
You read a lifetime right to live.
You can't do anything.
Right, as long as you're alive, you're able to occupy that dwelling without, and none of the kids or anybody else can say you can't. So, in my mind, that meets
Yeah.
the intent of the ordinance without, the language may not be exactly as the ordinance specified, but I believe it meets the intent
Yeah, I
of
think
the ordinance.
the intent is to make sure that
Yeah, I
she's
would
a
move to,
taxpayer.
I would move to grant her
Right.
the consideration, you know, provided she actually is the one paying the taxes. And, you know, when this motion's over, with, I got something else that will add to this.
I have the receipt, my name.
I've known you and your family since I was about this high, and one thing I've never known any of you to do is tell something untrue.
Oh, I don't think you would either, I'm just
No.
stating the motion the way I think it's
wouldn't be here
appropriate.
asking for any help if I got the taxes paid for me. And my kids always sign for the state that there'll be no claim for taxes on the
Yeah.
property, and they do the,
I would make the same motion, I don't care who it is about anything, I just
Right.
want to make it clear what I think is appropriate.
Right, I agree, it's that this meets the intent of the ordinance, even though the wording might not be exactly, and I agree with him, we'll do the same thing for anybody else, because it meets the intent. So, if you're moving, I'm seconding.
And those in favor?
And now that that's dispensed with, I would ask you, Curtis, are we gonna reauthorize this ordinance
Yes.
at the next town warrant?
Yep.
Look into appropriate language to resolve that conflict.
Right, yeah,
If
because
you
I think between you and I think the key is that, as I said, you want to make sure that you're assisting the taxpayer.
That's right.
She might not, she is, but she might not be a taxpayer. My mother could move up here from Arizona, live with me, and I take care of her, and she doesn't pay anything, and she could get this, and that's not quite fair.
Well, and that's what we want to avoid, we don't want that to
An
happen.
irrevocable trust technically leads to legal ownership with her, even though the option is, so that's a little bit legally a little different, but she probably didn't have any intent to get up underneath the taxes when she did it. I'm sure that wasn't.
Well, no, clearly, it doesn't appear to, so I just want us to look at that and see how we might
Modify it.
modify that, so we can make that more
We're not having
clear.
this problem every year.
Exactly, so the intent is,
Thank you very much.
thank you very much.
Sure.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Next thing on the agenda are department head reports. And Chief.
Actually, not much to report. Over the weekend, we had those couple of storms. So we had, out of that, we had 4 accidents. And we had another accident earlier this week. Other than that, I'm working on the final numbers for the year. And that'll be ready on the next select review.
What are you working on?
Final numbers for the year.
Oh,
Thank you.
did the tree that was down on the Ridge Road this morning, you know if the road crew took care of that?
Yeah, they did. Actually, by the time when my officer got out there, they were already there. And riding around town, there was one other on town farm road that heard already knew about, and he said as soon as they finish up on the Ridge Road, they're gonna shoot out there, so.
Andre.
You guys remember we gave away the old Engine 6 about 2 months ago, and this is a thank you card they sent us. 5 of the 10 students are in the program. They're very appreciative of it, they've been using it quite a bit. And we plan on going up there in about 2 weeks to meet with them. We have a little bit more equipment, some of the area departments are donating, and we're gonna bring it up to them. So they're having a great time with it. I'll pass some of these out. These are our calls to date. This is already a little dated because we did it yesterday. We've already had a couple of calls since. But, and I'll give you an updated one once the calendar's done. But if you look at that, the calls are very similar to last year. They are up a little bit, but that's basically a bump because of the hurricane we had in September. And that's power line calls, but the rest of them are holding pretty steady for the last several years. Those numbers are very close. I know we do a lot of training, we buy a lot of equipment for structure fires, and that's only 5% of our calls, but actually all that training works towards those other calls, so it works out fine.
Still had 5 chimney fires.
So that's 5 chimney fires, we've already,
Is that since about September?
you got another
I have to look at the dates, we've had 2 recently.
You got another copy.
Oh, yeah.
Nice call.
Actually, chimney fires have gone down the last few years.
I thought they were on a little bit of a downward
And I
trend.
think that's more because of the education and the better construction the last few years, that kind of stuff. People know better not to burn green wood. The chimneys are much better. They take care of their wood stoves better. It's nothing like it was 10 years ago, 15 years ago.
What do you plan on doing with this, Andre?
With that car,
Yeah.
I'm actually going to post it down at the fire station. I want to scan it and put it on our website. I I think Kurt's received one also for,
Yeah, well, Paulie's got one right there too.
Yeah, I think it's worth preserving in a way that, 50 years from now, in the archives of the Monmouth Fire Department,
Well, that's what-
this will be there because,
yeah, because maybe they'll give somebody a truck someday when they're old.
well, that's the thing, and the other thing is, I mean, it's a really nice sentiment, and the picture's worth 1,000 words, so, and it's,
Big business guy.
yeah, it's a great thing.
I would imagine most of those kids were at that big church fire they had this morning in, right on Memorial, that area. I think so, the fire station actually. As the chief said, we have had a lot of calls recently. It's been very busy with a big barn fire in Litchfield 2 weeks ago, a house fire over in Winthrop, and you probably saw that article in the KJ today about that young lady who was on their fire department. They were burned out. Several motor vehicle accidents. Just in the last 2 weeks, it's kind of spun up a little bit. Some of it's due to the weather, some of it's due to the cold. It's just a seasonal.
I missed your article, what did it say?
The young lady, her mother's home burned in Winthrop up on Route 1, up on 41.
Yeah,
And
sure.
she was in the junior fire department. They did a big fundraiser to try to get us some more money and stuff and help hold her and get her back on their feet. They pretty much lost everything.
I was up there doing service calls that day, and they had they had Route 41 closed off, you couldn't get anywhere near the place.
Yeah, it was fire 10 o'clock in the morning, so everybody's a little short-handed. And the last thing I have is, we've been working a lot on the narrow banding of radios. We've been talking about that for about a year and a half now. We applied for a grant through EMA for some radios, and it looks like that's going to come through. It's a no-match grant, which is great. There's no funds coming out of the town's pockets, and with any luck in the next month or two, we'll receive those.
Any idea how much?
They're probably a value of about $400 a piece. So, a little over $1,000 worth of equipment. We're going to use it to help the highway department out because they're a little short-handed on their narrow band equipment. All the PD, the rescue, and us are in pretty good shape, but they're the ones that are in need of it. So that's why we applied for those, that equipment to help them out.
So the old radios going
The old radios the highway department has, I'm not sure what Herbie will want to do with them.
maybe the new radios going
Yeah, the new radios will most likely get to her, but we'll shuffle stuff around and get some narrow band equipment to him. We may use the new radios like the fire trucks and give him the old radios we have, which are already narrow band capable, and push them around that way. His old radios will have a little value, but not much, because they won't work with narrow band, which is required. Next year at this time, everybody will have to be narrow band. And that's all I have, unless you have any questions.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Status quo, I don't have anything really to report. This is the, our third meeting in a month, and I don't have anything compiled yet. I'll probably do that next week for the year. Although I don't keep stats for a year, I usually keep it for fiscal year, which would be June to June. But I'll give you a mid-year report of as compared to what we did this time last year. I'm still busy. I came in today to do inspections. I was in yesterday and did inspections. So it's whether they're not coming in for new permits. These are permits that are established that take a while to work through. I do have people coming in Monday and Tuesday. I have people coming in requesting information for permits. So I see some new permits coming down the pipe. I did do one for community development on Sandwood Road this month. They're building a house, another one, exactly the same as they built on Blue. So that's going up now, because they moved right along.
So remind me again with the increase, how many more inspections are required with the new building code than what you normally do?
Before, I used to do a pre-inspection 50% of the time, where I couldn't determine from the maps and from the information I have in the office. So I would go out and look prior to any construction. So that was about 50% of the permits that were given. Now that's 100%. So that's gone up that much. And then what was required was a final inspection at the end. Just a courtesy inspection, make sure the stairs were built right, everything was done right, sign off on it, and I put it to bed. So now in between, I still have that one, but now I have 7 more to do. And that, out of those 7, usually, and I found that coming to tuition, the middle one, the framing one, the one right prior to installation, I fail it the first time, have to go back again, have to go back again, have to go back again. So out of the 7, I'm usually inspecting a house, 10, 11 times.
So could you list what the 7 required inspections are, just so everybody knows?
You have footing, foundation, framing, insulation, life safety, and final.
Why do they fail at the?
Because it's a new code, not so much the contractors are failing, it's when people are doing the work themselves, they don't know what to do. Typically, 9 times out of 10, it's framing something like the stairs, or framing something that's not the right size. We had one that the hallway wasn't 36 inches, you know, they did it at 34, and it has to be 36 now, so they had to open it up. Little things that now we have to inspect for. They weren't putting smoke detectors inside and outside of bedrooms, they're only putting them outside the bedroom. Now they have to be inside the bedroom and outside the bedroom. So all the stuff that we're trying to catch up on, I've been catching the framing mistakes pretty early when they come in. We don't require blueprints, so I have to pull this information out of whoever comes in for the permit. It's not on black and white. So I'm developing with every person coming in this rapport to try to pull all this information out so they do it right the first time, because I can't be there holding their hand.
Is it typical to not require blueprints or plans?
No, it's next. It should be coming down the legislative pipe next, because it's almost impossible for us, the inspectors, to go and inspect something that we don't have a blueprint for.
Right, but is it typical, in other communities, is it typical to not require? I know we never have.
No, the state is not required, and municipalities have not. Although we turned into this process of this 4,000 community all at the same time as the state code was coming in. So maybe Auburn, Lisbon, Augusta, who had established building permits, some of those do require permits, blueprints. Anything commercial requires a blueprint because it has to go to the fire marshal's office. So that makes my life so much easier on commercial. But it's, even if there's big, huge houses, you know, we're building a house down Twinview Drive. She's changing her mind as the contract is working. I can't keep up with it.
Okay.
So, you know, I've been back three, 4 times. Oh, in the wintertime, there's another one. I have to do silt fences. I have to do any permits that are around water. I have to inspect the silt fences every 2 weeks. Every 2 weeks. Every 2 weeks. I'm back, making sure the silt fence is up, and that'll go right into the summer.
Thank you.
Yeah, just a couple of things, Mr. Chairman. The 2012-2013 budget season is about to open, and on the proposed schedule, draft schedule. It's similar to last year's, not the same dates, of course, but it tries to utilize the existing meetings. I think that worked out well. It did for the board, so it did for me and the staff. I think we were able to work a workshop after the meeting pretty well most of the time. I think that the schedules should be flexible as we approach the end of the season. I think it does have flexibility built in, but we have, again, the same number of public hearings, 3 public hearings, 2 here when it comes to them, and starting on the 11th with capital improvements, and ending on June 5th with the referendum vote. But I think it's pretty much the same schedule.
No, on the 28th of March,
Yeah.
we'll still be able to make changes if
Yes.
there's,
Right, that's not a requirement that you vote or anything like that, it's just
I
reminding.
want to make sure people know
Yeah, I think we can.
that they can, you know, if they've got any big issues, they need to
Right.
make sure they get to that meeting and tell us.
Yeah, we normally put out public hearing notices for those meetings. We publicize as well as we can.
Yeah.
Um,
Want to make sure we put something on the front page of the advertiser and, you know, we'll probably have to, technically by state law, we're supposed to put something in the KJ if we put something in the advertiser, so.
Well,
Make sure, I just want to
first
say
two,
that right
the
up front,
first
I want
two
to make
are
sure.
not legally required, you know, and obviously like to save some expense of the KJ, all due respect. But the Cumston one is a legal requirement, so we have to go through
Right.
motions with that, but,
Well, a small, you know, I mean, just a couple of small,
I agree.
you know, conveniently placed ads that'll be noticeable.
Yes.
I want to make sure that we get as much,
Yeah.
you know, as much coverage out there in the community as possible.
Yeah.
Let people know that that's the meeting that, you know, that they have an opportunity, if they see something they don't like, to really speak up about it.
Okay, the other thing, I just want to tell you, I did follow up with Mr. Garrett, who was here a couple weeks ago about the property, he had an appeal about it, he didn't give him an abatement, but he had wanted to see Donna, he made an appointment, his wife, he didn't want to apparently, but his wife did meet with Donna and I don't think she's changed her mind, Donna hasn't, because she feels that she's done everything she could. But they had, you know, a lively discussion. She had an opportunity to understand where she's from, and she could appeal, and there's plenty of time. But so I wanted you to know I had made sure that she had, you know, an opportunity to, if there was an error, or misunderstanding, and Donna felt that she'd gone just as far as she could without stepping outside the system. You know, you built a system here. The wonderful thing we see it explained is that we do it by the numbers for everybody, and it's fair. It's not, there's exceptions, and it's not.
Well, I had an opportunity to talk with Donna, and I asked her, you know, point blank, are we using the same criteria for everything the same way? I want to make sure everybody's treated exactly the same way. But she did, during our conversation, she did say that it might not be a bad idea for us to employ her for 6 days or so next year to do an adjustment. And there is criteria and there's a way to do that without doing a full-blown reevaluation. Because, you know, she says it's difficult because we haven't had a lot of good sales, but there are changes that should be addressed and should be looked at. And I'd like you to chat with her and find out what that'll cost us and have that in the budget so we can consider it.
Yep. That's it, thank you.
Thank you. This was about adjusting things.
Well, some, according to Donna, some things would go up a little bit, some things would go down a little bit, depending on sales. The waterfront might go down a little bit, the center of town might go up, it depends. She has to look at all the sales and what sales there have been. And according to her, only clean sales count. You can't count auctions and you can't count foreclosures, because that's not,
Or short sales.
yeah, that's not how the market, that's not bearing, you know, how the market would bear the sale. You know, a clean sale is what someone would actually pay for a piece of property after they negotiated for it, and that's what needs to be considered. And some things will change. You know, and the idea is if it was even all the way across town, I guess it really wouldn't matter. But some places have gone up a little, some places have gone down a little bit, so that property tax burden should change a little bit. That's what she's telling me.
All set? Next thing is public comments.
Okay, we'll jump up.
All right, financial reports.
Mr. Chairman, we're about to enter the budget season, we're just about halfway through the year. We're about 50%. The appropriations control report is what I've provided for you tonight, and it's, I'd say overall we're very much on target. We've highlighted some areas, but we're, it says 59% of the grand total at the bottom, but that's skewed a little bit by the few things that are paid in advance, and county taxes and things like that, that make it look like it's over, but it's not. It's things like, for example, administration's at 53%, assessing's at 56%, but that 56 is even affected by the fact we pay vision once a year. County tax is, county tax is 110%, but we've actually been more appropriate than I've marked. They've got to fix that because that's that fifth year thing, you know, that adjustment.
Oh, I know, oh, I
They
see.
just didn't plug that in the number for appropriation, so it doesn't match. It's not really a part of the budget, so I just got to fix that. But debt retirement at 100%, debt service at 58, elected officials at 35, employee benefits at 56, police retirement at 28, general assistance 89. That's I told you that's a harder year than usual. The risk management at 42, special projects at 42, town clerk, town meeting 14, treasurer 106, that's the audit. The unclassified at 95, that's dues that's all been paid. Utilities at 133, but again, that's the watershed district. That's not a budgeted amount, but we put the money, the expenditure here to track it. So I just need to get near to plug that. The number there, so it doesn't show like we're spending money we don't have, because obviously we have budgeted. Boards and committees, 57, and that's dues being paid early, that makes it 57. The Compson Hall at 41, Compson Library at 48, Recreation at 53, Ambulance Service at 75, we pay 3 quarterly payments, so that's 75%. Animal Control at 26, Code Enforcement at 52, Fire Department at 50, run a button. Police Department at 46, very good. Dispatch at 57, this is the way those contracts we've been working with Somerset are arranged. The Summer Public Works at 73.
That's all done.
Yeah, it's all done until the summer. Yeah. Picks up again in the spring. Public Works, winter, 53, solid waste recycling at 53, town office 44, building maintenance at 56, capital improvements in the school are okay. And so overall, I think it's pretty good. We've had years where there's been surprises, everything's predicted so far. Keep my fingers crossed along the way. We don't have flexibility, so if anything goes wrong, it's a problem, but other than that, it's going well.
One thing I would like to bring up is when we get into the budget
Yep.
and we've got the numbers in front of us,
Yep.
instead of having mid-year numbers next to the appropriated amounts, can we have final numbers from last year? So we know how much we actually spent?
Yeah, I can give you last year's numbers.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
Because there was a lot of questions last year about, like one that comes to mind is the salt budget, for instance.
Yeah.
And they said, why are we budgeting, several people said, why are we budgeting, I don't know, it was 35,000 or so for salt, when it says here we only use 16,000. But that was mid-year numbers, that wasn't what we actually ended up spending
Right.
for the whole season the year before, so it was very misleading.
Yep. Yeah, it shouldn't be that way. Because right, like you say, right here, there's 2 years of history beside the spending.
Right.
You can track it obviously.
So that would be very helpful when
Yeah.
we're doing that process.
Good, thank you.
Thank you. Next thing is appointments to the comp plan implementation committee.
I neglected to add a couple people that should have been on there, a couple people on motion last time who should have been on there, so I'd like to move we include Dave Lewis and Pat Smith.
Those in favor? Thank you. And next is the town manager contract extension.
Mr. Chairman, I did make the corrections that we talked about, which were on page one, the term is a 2-year extension, step down at the bottom. And it's the end of the section the manager made, proposed the reduced hours schedule, portion reduction wages at the bottom as well. Then on page 3, the salary, I changed the 3% numbers annually, possibly to whatever the other employees may receive from time to time. That's at the top of page section 4.
Yeah.
I think those are the only changes we talked about.
I'll move we extend the contract with the changes as written.
Second. Those in favor?
Okay.
Thank you. Next is warrant 13, payroll.
Just so you know, Mr. Chairman, this, I got a list here, mind if I read it? Dead River Company, $1,223 for gas at various places. DJ's Municipal Supply Inc. for, I think it includes the tire change and stuff for public roads vehicles, mostly $1,417. Grimwood Industries, $2,205 for bulky waste. The transfer station, Howard Fairfield, $3,257 for used plow, that a used plow for trucks. We had, we don't buy all new plows, we buy new trucks. We try to use old ones, but sometimes they're much older than the truck. And we got the used one that was a good price. And Maine Commercial Tire Inc., $1,366. That's fire department tires, right?
Engine one.
Engine one?
They finally sent us the bill, so we paid it. We actually had new tires put on the rear end, end of October, I'm sorry.
Is that 4 tires?
4 tires, yeah. We had one, we had a bolt go through one of them, the tires are 22 years old, so the tread's worn very thinly. We budgeted for new ones, so this year we're hoping to finish the year out, but we changed all 4 of them.
Can't get more than 22 years.
Yeah, we could. That was on a mutual aid called the Winthrop, so. Yeah.
Maine Municipal Employees Health Trust, $19,318. That's for employers and employees' health insurance payments. Mid-Maine Waste Action Corporation, $1,364. That's for 47 tons of trash at $29 per free ton. Monmouth Rescue, $1,918. That's for the third quarter payment to Rescue Squad. National Financial Services, $1,314. That's for employers and the employees' share of retirement services. We pay up to 3%, and many of the employees will put in more than that, you know. So it's more employers, employees, and employers. RTA Inc., $2,150. That's 8 trips, 2 to Portland and 6 to Auburn to the incinerator. Trash. Scummy and Savings Bank, $25,836. That's for the lease payment, the second lease payment on the 2010 one-time for Public Works. TD Equipment Finance Inc., $47,089. That's for the third and final payment on the 2009 Public Works dump truck we leased. Tri-County Training, $1,000. Fire departments. Fire department.
We have 2 firefighters that are going to take the firefighter 1 and 2 program in Topsail. It's 200 hours of training per firefighter, and it's 2 of the people that just finished the basic fire school. So they'll be going down there. There's 4 from Wales going. There's 2 of ours, so they'll be able to carpool and support each other while they're going down there. The program starts in early January and it will end of June.
When I was a volunteer here, the only dream I got was here, hold this hole.
Yeah.
The treasurer stated made $5,850, that's for registration, sales taxes, and title. That's it, thank you.
What's the credit for back from CN Brown? $792.
I don't know, that's for gasoline, and we buy steel and ground, we buy gasoline for them.
Yeah, but I mean, they gave us money back.
Yeah, I don't know what it is. I'd have to look it up.
Yeah, I'm just curious, why is it $792.11? What it said there, I just,
See it, Brown?
yeah,
The credit?
yeah.
I'd have to check. I'll let you know, I'm not sure.
I was just curious.
Yeah, I don't mind they would give us a credit. Maybe
If we
they
did
charge
something
us-
right, I'd like to do it again.
They probably charge what we charge us.
Oh, they're gonna charge a tax and then realize.
Something like that. They would do it.
Well, that's good, yeah.
Yeah,
And if that's the case too, I want to keep an eye on that.
right.
Make sure we're not doing that somewhere else.
We're pretty careful. The department heads and Mary and I, we're eagle-eyed at sales tax. We read them the riot act and send them paperwork and refuse to pay and anything else, right?
I'll find out what it is.
Yep, yep.
I'll move we pay the warrant.
Second?
Those in favor?
I'll move to adjourn.
Oh, I just want to ask about her.
Oh, he's sick. He called in, and he said he couldn't be here tonight, and he's not feeling well. He didn't say what. It was fine today when I saw him, I think, you know.
Well, check on him, tell him, Lord hopes he feels better.
Yes.
I think he was on the golf course.
52 degrees.
What works and everything's going okay?
I bought him a Titleist hat for Christmas.
Public works and everything's going okay?
Yes, really happy. Yeah, no problems, you know? Yeah, they haven't had a lot of storms, they've been out with slippery weather, but not blown a lot. But they haven't broken anything, one of their employees, no, nothing serious, it was going well.
Second motion to adjourn.
Those in favor?
Yep.
Still has it on the calendar for Friday.
Yeah, Tiger.
Yeah, the time is
I don't know you guys are going, but I just was told to be ready for it to go out. What was good the last time? Last couple times I've been here, it's been kind of mediocre.
Last time we went to the was good.
Yeah, I have a sense of like, okay,
Yes,
I know that.
we're not having this conversation. I know, you said you don't remember that. Yes, I'll see you tomorrow morning.
you know that actually, as soon as that. No, that's great.
Well, main commercial tire, $1,066. I've seen a lot of tires for these. It's like 4 tires for
Okay, we're gonna get tomorrow morning.
That's pretty impressive, really. People waste money.
Yeah, we went,
And that's the thing, I don't want to have to pay for those types of employee appreciation. But tax money, that should be us as representatives.
and it was,
Okay.
it was good.
That's what I
think.
It was mentioned.
Sections always was.
Yeah.
We went there for another year.
How we supposed to sign this?
That's-
Said that in the US.
Yeah.
That's what I did.
Are we supposed to sign this up right?
It should be.
Yeah, see, we went
And my
through all this.
brother wants to